Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2015 science fiction film Ex Machina. Now, this is a film I was curious about because I like science fiction. I like Alex Garland. I think he's a really good writer for the most part. He did a great job writing Dread, which is one of my favorite films of the past few years. He also helped write 28 Days Later. And this is his directorial debut, so I was curious to see what his directorial debut was, to see how well he did. And I saw the trailer, it looked like it might be interesting, and then I saw all of the good reviews, and I was like, okay, all right, let's give this a look. And I was very underwhelmed by this movie. I honestly thought it was really disappointing, and for the most part, I didn't like it. So, and it was a real shocker to me, considering that this is a movie that is what, a 92% Rotten Tomatoes, 7 point an over does it have like an 8 point something rating on IMDb, I think? Yeah, it has like over an 8.0 something rating on IMDb, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check. But I know it has a 90% Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people considering it one of the best films of the year. No, it doesn't have an 8 point. It has a 7.7. Almost every single top 10 list you find on the internet is you is going to have this movie somewhere, or they're going to at least have it as an honorable mention. And I don't know. I maybe I didn't see the same movie they did, or maybe I just didn't. It didn't blow me away as much as it did they for them. I really don't know. But for me personally, that was not very good. And I'm gonna try to keep this as short and sweet as I possibly can because I really don't want to talk about this film for very long because it irritates me. Because it's so disappointing and has such a good idea, but it decides to be a try hard, and I hate it when films do that. When they have a good concept, but they spend too much of the time trying to, force feed how important this film is and how brilliant it is, and with tons of pretentious dialogue. But that's just me personally. I'm not a fan of that. But anyway, the film is written and directed by Alex Garland, and his writing, I think he's written better. I really do. But at the same time, uh, directing, no, it's not too bad for a first-time director. It's actually pretty decent. Um, cinematography by Rob Hardy. That's one of the few standouts, the few things about the film I actually liked. I think it's a really well done job. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It sets up the shots really well. The editing by Mark Day, it is what it is. It's efficient enough. Production design I thought was really, it was okay. It just wasn't very memorable because it was very sterile and bland looking. Like, it was sleek, but at the same time it was very sterile and bland to look at. I don't know if that was the point or not, but I guess it is what it is in that regard. Um, The film stars Domhnall Gleeson as Caleb Smith. You have Alicia Vikander plays the machine, Ava. Wait a second, the machine, Ava. There's a movie from 2013 or 2014 from Canada called The Machine, which deals with the same sort of concept that this movie does. It also has a female android named Ava in it. And it's spelled the exact same way. I'm not making that shit up either. It's true. Like, wow, really? I need to see that movie sometime. Maybe it would be better than this. But anyway, I can't say enough praises for Alicia Vikander. She was phenomenal. She was really good. She deserves all the credit and the praise she gets for her performance in this film. Domhnall Gleeson, on the other hand, I disagree with. I thought his performance was pretty terrible. And I'll explain why soon enough. Oscar Isaac, the actor who would go on to play Cameron, he would go on to play Poe. Yeah, Dameron Poe. He played the guy from Force Awakens, the X-Wing pilot, who I actually liked. I didn't like him that much in this. His performance wasn't terrible. It's just the character, the way it was written, just wasn't appealing to me. And I thought it was a pretty one-note villain. Sonoya Mizuno plays Kyoko, and a few other actors really don't really have that much to do and aren't really that on the screen that much. Pretty much what it is, it's a three-person show. Three people, that's about it. And actually, two people and one machine. So now that I've gotten, that little intro out of the way, let's start with my pros for this film. The things that I actually like about Ex Machina. Alicia Vikander as Ava. That's the number one thing about this film I actually liked. I thought her performance was really good. It's one of the best performances I've seen by an actor or an actress playing a machine in a long time. It was really effective, it was powerful, and she really did a great job with it. Um, the visual effects. For a $15 million film, it had some really impressive visual effects, especially on Ava. Um, Sometimes at some moments there's a little bit of CGI looked a bit wonky. I mean, because most of it's CGI, so but by wonky I mean it just didn't blend very well with the human actor. So you have a sequence like where, for example, spoiler, where Kyoko reveals, she's a machine, and you see her head and her eyes, her robot eyes. It just looked really fake to me because of the way that the way that the effect was done. I just didn't buy it. And there's some other sequences like it looks like near the end, like there's like CGI blood that looks really bad. Um, but for the most part, the effects are really good for what little bit of budget they had. Um, the direction by Alex Garland, it's solid. It's nothing spectacular. I don't think he's the next Stanley Kubrick, but you can definitely tell that he knows what he's doing, and I am curious to see what he does next. So in that regard, it technically is a pro. Um, the story, I like some of the concepts of the story. I like the idea of the conversations, the discussions between Ava and Caleb. I just wish they were more interesting. I wish they were. I wish there wasn't five of them. I wish there was like maybe just two, and then we focus more on the rest of the film building other things and doing other things. Or maybe the movie was just about that. I don't know. I mean, the relationship between Ava and Caleb is more interesting to me than the conversations between uh, Nathan and Caleb. To me, that's just completely just Dolesville for me. It was a complete snooze fest when it had those sequences. But that's just me personally. I know a lot of people love those sequences and find them fascinating and interesting, but I had a hard time relating to those characters, so that's why I didn't give a shit what they had to say. But yeah, okay, all right. Uh, that part of the story wasn't too bad. The way the film ended, I had problems with it, but the very ending I thought was a really interesting concept. The idea of a machine that looks like us trying to blend into society, and I wish they made a movie out of that. I think that would be a much more interesting film than the movie that I watched. But it's just me personally. So there are some good concepts and good ideas in this film, but I just don't think it's executed very well. I think the screenplay is full of way too much dialogue. Um, and I don't know what else to really. The score, I didn't mind the score. Kind of, it reminded me of Daft Punk a little bit, electronic sort of score. Um, it's by Ben Salisbury and Geoff Barrow. I thought the score was pretty decent too. So, and the film, like I said, the cinematography is gorgeous. It's a really good looking movie, but that doesn't make the movie great to me. Um, but yeah, all right. That's my pros. I mean, and I get, the guy. I guess Oscar Isaac does a decent job with his performance, but it's still a character I don't like, so it's not really necessarily a pro for me. But anyway, there you go. Those are my pros for Ex Machina. Now we're getting to my cons, which I think this film has a lot more missing parts than majority of the critics say it does. This is nowhere near a flawless film for me personally. So, first off, the screenplay by Alex Garland. Like I said, there were some good ideas and concepts here, but his screenplay is chock full of way too much pretentious, overlong, boring dialogue for my taste, especially between conversations between Caleb and Nathan. I mean, they even have a conversation about a Jackson Pollock painting, and that's the moment where I was like, "Oh shit." It's one of those fucking movies. And like, yep, it is. First off, I'm not a fan of Jackson Pollock. I think he's a absolutely severely overrated artist. He was just one of the, he. I don't think he was that. He was. I don't even think he was that talented. He just ended up accidentally striking a gold mine because no other artist before him had done something as brilliant or as amazing as just throwing shit on a canvas without even thinking about it. He was the first one to do it, so that made him a genius according to some art critics. For me personally, this is shit that a kindergartner could do, and for me personally, I think an artist who thinks long and hard about his work and makes photorealistic pieces of art is more impressive to me than some guy who just slaps some paint on a canvas. That's not impressive to me. If it is to you, to each their own. But for me personally, no. I never cared for Jackson Pollock. I never thought he was a genius. I never thought he was one of the best artists of our generation either. I always thought he was overrated. And here they talk about Jackson Pollock. There's a Jackson Pollock painting with all this fucking paint splattered on a canvas. And here's Nathan talking to Caleb saying, okay, what would have happened if Jackson Pollock decided to think about what he was going to paint and didn't paint anything before he decided what he was going to do? And then Caleb's like, he would have never touched the canvas, so the brush would have never touched the canvas. I'm like, exactly. And I'm like, oh my god, fuck this movie. Seriously, I mean, that's the kind of shit I hate. I hate this pretentious shit. I really do. But I mean, if that's the type of conversations and those are the type of things that you like, then this is something you're definitely going to enjoy because this is definitely one of those thought wanking movies, the intellect wanking movies. This is gonna wank your intellect and it's gonna make you feel good. But if you don't, if you honestly don't really, I mean, I'm an intelligent person, but I don't like watching people wank their intellects in my face. That's the thing. I just don't really appreciate that. That's not entertaining to me. Conversations between two super hipster geniuses is not my idea of a good time. So, I don't relate to these characters either because they're so super smart and intelligent, then and their conversations are so boring and so pretentious that I just find them cold. They really seem like cold characters to me that I don't give two shits about what happens to them. Which is, I don't know if it's a screenplay problem. Maybe it is, because there's just too much of this pretentious dialogue. Um, that really, to me personally, was just there to make the film look and sound smarter than it really is. Because you have a lot of these sequences where these characters are talking and talking about this shit, and then it doesn't do anything to advance the plot. It's just there just to have some pretentious dialogue and to pad the running time, where the movie already feels like it's 3 hours. Some of this shit needed to be cut out of the film. So, so in that instance, maybe the editing could have been better. Maybe that isn't a pro. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that type of dialogue. And for me, in my opinion, this movie had too much of that type of dialogue. And the questions it was asking and the questions it was trying to show me, I have seen and asked myself before in other movies. And when I was watching other films like Blade Runner or even RoboCop or I Robot or 2001: A Space Odyssey or Gattaca, which I love. I love Gattaca, and that's a slow-paced film too. This is a slow-paced movie. This is a slow burn, but to me it never even got started. It reminded me of that piece of shit movie Honeymoon, which never even got started too. The fire wasn't even lit. Same thing happened with this movie. The fire never even got lit to begin with. Nothing burned. There was no slow burn because nothing ever burned. So, but that's just me. That's just me personally. But yeah, the screenplay I think could have been better because I really think that it should have had less long patches of dialogue to explain the plot and more of just showing me what's happening. Less is more, and show me, don't tell me. Show, don't tell. It's much more effective when you show the viewer the story you're trying to tell, and you sprinkle it in with little bits of dialogue here and there to explain the plot. But don't try to explain everything with dialogue, because that gets really tiresome after a while. It really does. It's not because I have a short attention span. It's because I have two characters that, in my opinion, the script didn't do a very good job making me give a shit about them. So why should I give a shit about what they have to say? And if they are what's explaining the plot, and they are saying and explaining shit, and the movie's 90% dialogue, then it's a real chore to sit through because I'm not involved with these characters. I don't care about these characters, so that's a serious problem. Second, screenplay is unbelievably predictable. Any twist that the screenplay has, you can see coming a mile away. Spoilers, okay. Kyoko, Nathan's mute Asian maid, turns out to be a machine, a robot, an android. And I saw that coming the moment I saw her. But the film decided to drag that shit out until the over an hour into the movie, and to try to throw it at me like it's some shocking revelation. It wasn't. It wasn't at all to me. It wasn't even that shocking to me that he built other robots and he used them as fuck dolls. That wasn't as shocking to me either. So that's your first big twist in the plot. Okay? Your second and third twists, near the end of the film, the creator gets killed by his creations. Really? We had to do that. We had to fucking do that again! For a movie that's been considered brilliant and groundbreaking, it's covering the same material and the same ground that tons of other shows of like The Outer Limits and even Star Trek The Next Generation, including the episodes with Data, have already covered and done in detail. This film is supposed to be groundbreaking and brilliant, and it's dealing with another typical AI story about an AI who's super smart and intelligent, who's tricky and manipulative, and kills its creator. And then what does it do next? What's the other big twist? What's the shocking twist? Okay, it tricks our lead, Caleb, plays him like a harp from hell, and then locks him away, and she escapes into society. There's your fucking ending of the movie, which I saw coming a mile away, and I was hoping it didn't end that way. I was like, don't end like that, and it did. It did. It ended like any of these other fucking movies or these stories do, where the robot kills its creator and then escapes. It's like wash, rinse, and repeat. So I don't get what was so brilliant about this film. The screenplay even has issues other than that. I mean, the screenplay. Okay. There's a scene between Nathan and Caleb. Caleb is going around in this room, looking around, finds a phone, and he's trying to see if he can make it work. And Nathan's saying, "You can't call anybody. You can't use the phone." And then Caleb's like, I was just checking to see if it worked or not. It's like, you can't use the phone. I mean, who are you gonna call? And I was like, don't say what I think you're gonna say. And he says, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters? I was like, what? For a film that's being considered one of the most brilliant films of the past 10 years, it has that fucking line of dialogue in it. A line of dialogue that even I don't want to say, a joke that I don't even want to say half the time at all, usually, because it's so cheap. It's such a lazy joke. And that's one of the few examples of this film's sense of humor. A joke that you're just like, wow, That's the best you could come up with. That joke. Wow, that's amazing. And that's not even there's other stupid shit. Like for example, our super genius robot builder, Isaac, Oscar Isaac Nathan, he doesn't put any fail safes on Ava or any of his other machines. He puts no fail safes on them. He doesn't put any three laws of robotics on them. He doesn't put any you shall not harm humans on programming in them. Doesn't do any of that. And he's supposed to be some genius, and he doesn't fucking do that. He doesn't make it. He doesn't make it so the robot doesn't fucking attack him. So the robot, can't kill his ass. Who the hell would invent an AI and not do that? I mean, because if this is so far in the future, I mean, you know what we could do just instead? You know what we could just clone somebody and then like program, or we could just grow a human from scratch and then we could program it from birth to do a certain task. Why the hell would we need an AI? Why would we need a super intelligent, super smart AI that could overtake us all? If we could just do that. And if we are going to do it, I don't understand why anyone would decide to not put any fail-safes on it. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't do that. Because I guess he wants to really make sure that the AI can become as human as possible. And of course, that ends up being his downfall, so forth and so on. I get it. He doesn't do that because he wants to make sure that it's human as possible, but it still doesn't mean it isn't stupid. I mean, he's supposed to be a genius, and he doesn't do that. Second, he doesn't put any fail-safes on the thing. Second, so he's a super genius, and he makes it so all his locks in his compound are with key cards. This antiquated system. Why aren't you using biometrics? You know, where it's your DNA and your fingerprints and stuff that opens things. Not a key card that's so easy to manipulate. So easy to manipulate. Biometrics. Something in your, computer chip in your wrist or something. That's so much more effective. And still, Ava could have still used it to escape, but she would have, I don't know, ripped his arm off or something. I mean, that's easier. That's a harder thing. But if you program the robot not be able to rip your arm off, then there's no way that she can manipulate things, and there's probably no way that she's gonna escape. I mean, But I mean, then we wouldn't have a movie. But at the same time, try harder. Key cards. And the ending. Okay, so Ava puts this skin on, okay, that makes her look human. And then she goes into the area where the helicopter pilot's supposed to be picking up Caleb. Helicopter pilot comes down on this island and where, this compound is, where Ava, Nathan, and Caleb are, and all these other fuck robots. And so the helicopter lands, and he doesn't even question what's going on. He sees that there's a young woman here instead of a young man that he's supposed to pick up, and he picks up the young woman and flies away. Doesn't ask any questions. Doesn't say, you're not who I'm supposed to pick up, young lady. You're not on the list. Nope. Nope. Not at all. He just picks her up, flies her into society. What a fucking moron! And I mean, the screenplay, that's what I'm saying. How it could be much better. You know how you fix that? It's easy. You just make Ava kill his ass or something, and then she already learned how to fly a helicopter ahead of time. You just write in the screenplay, show little sequences of her researching helicopters, and then you see her kill the guy and then fly the helicopter herself. That's a lot more believable to me than the helicopter pilot just letting some random woman on the helicopter and then flying away. But that's just me personally. But that's the stuff that deals with the screenplay. The predictability with the twists, and I guess I know some people trying to explain how the ending isn't a twist, that it's just her plan all along. I mean, I knew that. That's why even if I mean, I didn't trust the machine. Why would you trust the machine? Second, another problem I have with the screenplay is it's cool to see Ava, with the circuitry and everything showing, but why the hell would Nathan do that? He's doing a Turing test to try to see if a robot has a conscience or not. You know what would be better? It would be more effective to me. It would be a way to really take out any sort of, I don't know, uh, anything that might hold Caleb back. You give her the human skin from the beginning, all over her body. Dress her up like a normal woman, and then have the conversation. And then later in the film, you find out that she's a robot, that she's an android. Just make it so it's not automatically AI. The moment that I knew that she was AI from the beginning, I knew I could not trust this robot. And everything that she was saying, I did not trust. That's me personally. But Caleb, on the other hand, when he finds out it's AI, because he's reluctant about doing this thing at first, and Nathan's like, well, you could spend all this time drinking beers and hanging out, you know, but you're gonna miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Yeah, uh-huh. You get to interact with the artificial intelligence. And Caleb's reaction to this is just, he doesn't even ask any questions. He's just like, AI? Oh, I get to talk to an AI? Oh, where do I sign? That's really how it went down. He didn't ask any questions. He didn't ask, do you have any fail safes on this machine? Do you have anything set up so it can't attack humans? What am I going to be asking this robot? What are you trying to get me to do? I know you're trying to get me to do a Turing test, but what kind of questions do you want me to ask? What questions don't you want me to ask? Like, are there questions you don't want me to ask Ava? You know, stuff like that. No, no, nope, mm-mm. So he just goes right ahead with it. Starts At first, though, he starts talking to Ava way too analytically, and then even Nathan, and I didn't mind this scene where Nathan comes across and says, "You gotta talk to her like you're gonna talk to a normal person," you know, and so eventually does, but it still didn't sound like it because for me personally, Domhnall Gleeson's performance was so robotic. His performance was more robotic than Vikander's. For me personally, he could not successfully emote. He couldn't. I couldn't feel any emotion from this guy. It didn't feel realistic. It didn't feel real. He felt so distant, and he felt inhuman to me. And in particular, there's a scene where he's talking about to Nathan about how his parents died in an accident, and he just talks. He doesn't even show any emotion. He just says, "Yeah, my parents died a long time ago in a car accident, and things have been good though." And I'm like, "Well, what the fuck?" Yeah, and there's moving forward from a tragedy in your life, and then there's this. Like, how the hell do you have no emotion for a tragedy of that caliber? I mean, that's something that if it happened to me, I'd move forward from it. It'd take me a while, but anytime I'd ever have to think about it or talk about it, you damn well right, I'm going to be showing some sort of sadness or grief. None of that. He talks about his parents' death with the same enthusiasm as he would a grocery shopping list. It's just, or just talking with the same enthusiasm he would, telling his friends about some show he watched on TV. It was very, very jarring. It was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, maybe he's a robot. And then no, they try to go into that with he cuts himself and then he finds to see if he's a machine or not. He finds that he isn't, and then punches a mirror for some reason because he's pissed off he's not a machine. I don't know. Or he's pissed off, dumbass, to cut myself. How stupid are you to think you're a machine, you idiot? But I didn't care for that character. I didn't relate to that character. He's from Portland, Oregon. Yeah, it's close to where I grew up, but he's not the type of, person that I relate. Just because he grew up in Portland doesn't mean I relate to this guy. There's nothing about this character I related to. Same thing with Nathan. These are just two super smart hipster geniuses that I could not relate to, and I actually found the robot more interesting. But then then I didn't trust her from the beginning because I already knew she was AI. It would have been better if the film just did not tell me she was AI from the beginning, gave her the human skin, and made her dress like a normal woman from the beginning, and not even say it's AI. Just say, you're going to be doing some communication tests. I'm working on some stuff, communication, you know, language or algorithms and stuff like that for my search engine. And, I thought you were the best choice for the job. And speaking of the job, how Caleb got the job, that's another problem I have with this film. In the beginning of the movie, it's just this random ass fucking shit where Caleb is on a computer and he's on his phone, and you just see his conversation with Nathan, basically saying, "You won the lottery," blah 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 blah, and like it was just in fast forward. It was just like I don't even know what the hell did the text say. Don't have time for that. And then like weird ass fucking filters and shit. And then cut to a helicopter flying to an island. And I half expected to hear the John Williams Jurassic Park score. Da 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 da. That's not what happened. Of course not. I wish. I wish I was watching Jurassic Park instead of this. So yeah, Domhnall Gleeson, very, very poor performance for me personally. He did not emote well. He was a boring character. He was a very, very boring lead, and wasn't very enthusiastic, and so neither was I. The climax, lackluster. It's not only predictable with the robots turning on their creator, but it doesn't have any impact. Even Nathan's death has no impact because it's so flaccid. What happens is the Asian Kyoto tries to attack him. He smacks her jaw off with the barbell, handle. And after she already stabbed him in the back, and the way that she stabs him is just so wimpy. It's just, ugh. And then that's what Ava does too. She stabs him in the chest after he breaks off one of her arms. And then even the way Oscar Isaac dies is boring. It's stabbed in the chest in just lame way, totally lame fashion. And then he's just like, "Oh, I got stabbed. Oh well, isn't this a predicament?" Well, that's not exactly what he said, but might as well have been. But it was that lame. It was just stabbed in the back with looks like a CGI knife and CGI blood. Stabbed in the front with a knife, CGI blood, CGI knife, or it was just shot weird, so it looked really fake, and then pathetic, absolutely pathetic. It's one of the worst fucking denouements I could think of for a character that is deserving his fate as much as Nathan did. And another thing about this character that really made me not give a shit about this character, he doesn't really have much growth. I don't consider him being an alcoholic and lifting weights and shit really growth, or him doing disco dancing. Because for some reason, after an hour into the film, Caleb is talking to Nathan, and then all of a sudden he's like, "You want to dance?" And then puts the lights down, and they turn red, and then disco music starts, and he starts disco dancing with Kyoto. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is the point of this sequence? Is it to make? It's just to pad the running time again? Is it to make sure the audience is still awake? What the fuck is the point of that sequence? Is it to show how comically out of touch Nathan is from reality? You could have done that in a different way that doesn't involve ridiculous disco dancing. But no, ridiculous disco dancing. Which I'm just like, what the fuck is this doing in this movie? So, you have that sequence, which it serves no purpose whatsoever. You have random sequences of robot nudity, because why not? Tits. All these chicks walking naked around naked. Alright, cool. Tits, titties, pussy. That doesn't make the movie good to me. And what I was meaning to say about Nathan is that I have a hard time relating to this character because of the fact that he doesn't even seem to give a shit about his own creations. He doesn't care about what advancements he's gonna make. It just seems like a character who's just like, I built this super cool thing, but I don't really care. That's kind of what it felt like to me. I mean, you could fuck it. Damn right you could fuck the robot. Do you want to fuck it? I'm like, yeah. Came across as a douchebag bro scientist. Great. Douchebag bro scientist. Fantastic. Who dies in the most shitty, forgettable way imaginable. Stabbed in the back, stabbed in the chest. Then the film ends, of course, with Domhnall Gleeson being the dumbass. He was a dumbass. I mean, he fell for this robot way too early and way too fast, and that's because of And actually, this is actually a pretty clever bit of the script, and that's what pisses me off so much about this movie, is that you have clever moments like this in the screenplay, where Nathan built this AI based on Caleb's Google search results on what he wanted out of a perfect woman. That's cool. I like that concept. I like that idea. But this character is he's supposed to be so smart, but he's also so stupid. He falls for this robot like it's a human being. And even though she doesn't look at all like a human being at first, but then she tries to dress herself up and it's still not believable. There's still something absolutely off about her that is not human, but he falls for her, and he falls for her tricks, and talks to her about how to escape, and then he sees other things, like he sees things that should make him be suspicious, like seeing her talk to Issac in the middle of the night when she told him that he's dangerous, you shouldn't trust him, but she's talking to Issac. There's something wrong there. There's also a scene where she pretty much, I'm trying to remember exactly. So she's talking to Issac. There should be, that's a sign. Okay, you can't trust this machine, but whatever. Falls for this love, and he just doesn't see the signs. He doesn't see them. When he sees that Nathan was able to watch the footage when the power was out, when there wasn't supposed to be any cameras on, of his conversation with Ava about trying to escape, that should have been the moment. Light bulb went off. Can't trust this machine. Nope. Still goes along with the plan anyway. And he gets locked up. He's locked in the room by Ava. Kyoto and her double team and kill Nathan. She then takes Kyoto's skin and puts it on her own body. Gets on the helicopter. Flies into society. Film ends with her trying to blend into society. That's it. That's Ex Machina. Well, of course, you have all this bunch of dialogue between these two characters, Caleb and Nathan, and intercut with shots of nature and decent, some black and white stuff. And this is definitely an art house film. That's all I gotta say. So maybe in the end, this just wasn't a film for me. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind art house films like this. I mean, I really like Birdman. And that's a pretty pretentious film if you think about it, with an equally ambiguous ending, but I just didn't get into this movie like I did a film like Birdman. Because Birdman to me had better characters. Characters I actually cared about. I didn't care about Caleb. I didn't care about Nathan. The most interesting character was Ava, but I didn't trust her from the beginning. And I didn't like how, and I don't want to sound like a social justice warrior here, but man, it's kind of misogynistic. This film was very kind of misogynistic if you think about it. It was like, okay, Ava, think about her as a woman. What she does is she manipulates the man, Caleb. She manipulates him, locks him up, drops him. She dumps him when he's no longer of use to her, and then she leaves. Really? It's like this film is an allegory to, know, how women treat mankind. I mean, it's just, man, like, did Alex Garland have some shitty fucking breakup recently or something? Hey, fuck. So, yeah, it's pretty misogynistic in that regard. And all the old aspects of what makes us human, been there, done that. The whole, oh, it's terrifying, it's so scary, because we're so close. We're not close at all to something like Ava. Yeah, a liquid gel brain. We don't even know there is even such a thing as liquid gel, whatever stuff to use to create a brain with. We're way, way far away from artificial intelligence, folks. We have some robots that can do some stuff, but nowhere near to Ava's extent. I know Alex Garland's talking about in an interview that I read where he's all like, "This movie's like we're like 10 minutes from now. 10 minutes from now, we could have Ava, and Apple could introduce Ava, and we'd be oh okay, but we'd be interested and we'd automatically be accepting of it. I wouldn't. I'd be terrified of the thing." And we're not 10 minutes away, Alex Garland. That's very optimistic thinking. We're not 10 minutes away from artificial intelligence. We really aren't. Just because Siri is on your phone and it can react to your commands, it doesn't mean it's AI. We're not that close. We're not that close at all to AI. We're far away right now from an AI the caliber of Ava. And like I said, any scientist who isn't insane would make sure to have protocols and fail safes on the AI so that it won't try to take over the world. I mean, this sort's terrifying, the idea of AI rising up and taking our place, but it's been done in iRobot, it's been done in The Terminator, and those are much more effective films to me than Ex Machina. They don't have just an overwhelming slew of dialogue that just goes on and on and on. And even the conversations between Ava and Caleb get boring after a while because they have nothing to say. It's something like this. What is your favorite color? Red. Lie. Lie. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not 6 years old anymore. I don't have a favorite color. Another bit of pretentious dialogue. Oh, if you have a favorite color, you must be 6 years old. No, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I can say right now what my favorite color is. It's black. It is. I have most of my shirts are black. There's some other colors I like, but I like black. And I think I look good in black. So, yeah, black is my favorite color, and I'm not, and that's not some bullshit answer. I mean, come on. What the hell? That line of dialogue upset me too. Oh, if you're not, I'm not 6 years old. I don't have a favorite color. Well, good for you. You don't have a favorite color. But yeah, that's the type of dialogue you're in for when it comes to this movie, or the type of conversations. Do you like me? Do you love me? Do you want to escape with me? It's just like, after a while, it just got really boring. The conversations between Ava and Caleb got boring. Mainly because it felt like I was between two machines. Because Domhnall Gleeson's performance is so robotic. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why this film is so universally highly acclaimed. And 10 out of 10, 4 out of 4 stars, 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up. I don't understand it when it comes to this movie. I really don't. Do some of these, I mean, because I remember films like Gattaca, and I remember films like iRobot and The Terminator, and other movies that dealt with aspects of this film I had to deal with. Hell, the whole aspect of fuck robots is done in Cherry 2000. I don't like Cherry 2000, but I'd rather watch that than this. At least I got Melanie Griffith kicking some ass. But, you know, that's just me personally. Like I said, maybe it's just not a film for me. I said I was going to try to make it short, but I couldn't. I couldn't. This movie is just, I have a lot of problems with this film, so I had to get them off my chest. But yeah, the main biggest problem for me is not the predictability of the twists. It's, it's the fact that it's just slow paced and boring to me. And in large part is because I don't like the characters. I don't care about the characters. The film that doesn't give me a reason to care about these characters. And I just don't like listening to long patch of boring, pretentious dialogue after another. I mean, I don't like sitting down and listening to lectures while I'm watching a movie. But that's just me personally, you know. But I knew this is the type of film was gonna be. It was gonna be explosions and action, and I didn't want that either. I just thought that the film had a good concept, but it just weighed it down with too much dialogue. And I think the film would have been a lot better if it just let its great concept breathe. But it didn't. It choked it out with this pretentious try-hard dialogue, which just completely, really, really hurt the film for me. And then you also had the fact that you have a story of this guy coming in to test this machine to see if it has a conscience that is not there's not enough there to stretch it out to an hour and 48 minutes. This is a concept and a story that would have been way more effective as a 30-minute segment of a Outer Limits type show or an hour-long segment of a science fiction TV show. Not an hour and 48 minutes. The concept isn't interesting enough to me. It isn't scintillating enough to me. There's not enough meat on the bone to me to stretch it out that long. But that's just for me personally. I thought the film was slow paced. It was supposed to be a slow burn thriller, but it was mostly filler, and it never even got lit. The fire never even got lit, and it has some pretty underwhelming performances by most of the cast, except for Vikander, and the screenplay is inconsistent. And yeah, I just thought the film was, for me personally, just not that great of a movie. It wasn't a masterpiece to me. It wasn't the most fantastic, amazing film of its type I've seen in years. It just was not that type of film for me. I didn't see that. I didn't see the same movie that all these other critics did. But that's just my personal opinion. If you agree with them, cool. If you love this, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. This is just my opinion, and you know, it's a good thing that there are people like me out there that share a different opinion, and it's a good thing that there are people like you who happen to like this movie a lot, because that's what makes this world interesting. And without different opinions, we'd be living in a very boring place. And I'm all for it. I'm all for people not agreeing with me. That's not why I'm making these videos. I don't want people to agree with me. That's not the point of this. It's just me sharing my thoughts and sharing my opinions. And these are my thoughts on the Ex Machina. I didn't like it. And if it was a rate out of 5 stars, I give it 2. 2 out of 5. I thought it was that bad of a film. I think it would definitely be in my worst of list for this year. And but that's just my personal feelings on the film. Anyway, thank you for watching my rambling rant uh, on Ex Machina, and I will see you guys later. See ya.